Muni's life spared. And this is text number 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaha Sunabakila Dharma Sitave Hya Dharma Shila Sura Dhuma Ketave Trailokya Gopaya Vishuddha Varchase Mano Javayad Bhuta Karmane Grine. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Sudarshan, you have a very auspicious hub, and therefore you are the upholder of all religion. You are just like an inauspicious comet for the irreligious demons. Indeed, you are the maintainer of the 3 worlds. You are full of transcendental effulgence. You are as quick as the mind, and you are able to work wonders. I can simply utter the word Namaha, offering all obeisances unto you. Purport. The disc of the Lord is called Sudarshan because he does not discriminate between high and low criminals or demons. Durvasa Muni was certainly a powerful Brahmana, but his acts against the pure devotee Maharaj Ambarish were no better than the activities of asuras. As stated in the Shastras, Dharmam tu shakshad bhagavat pranitam. The word dharma refers to the orders or laws given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Real dharma is surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, real dharma means bhakti, or devotional service to the Lord. The Sudarshan Chakra is here addressed as Dharma Setave, the protector of Dharma. Maharaj Ambarish was a truly religious person, and consequently, for his protection, the Sudarshan Chakra was ready to punish even such a strict Brahmana as Durvasa Muni, because he had acted like a demon. There are demons even in the form of Brahmanas. Therefore, the Sudarshan Chakra does not discriminate between Brahmana demons and Shudra demons. Anyone against the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees is called a demon. In the Shastras, we find many Brahmanas and Kshatriyas who acted as demons and have been described as demons. According to the verdict of the Shastras, one has to be understood according to his symptoms. If one is born of a Brahmana father, but his symptoms are demoniac, he is regarded as a demon. The Sudarshan Chakra is always concerned with annihilating the demons. Therefore, he is described as Adharma Shilasura Dhuma Ketave. Those who are not devotees are called Adharma Shila. The Sudarshan Chakra is just like an inauspicious comet for all such demons. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you all for joining this morning. Once again, we'd like to just seek your blessings that we can have positive, uplifting discussion this morning and something that will hopefully fortify us in our endeavor to come closer to Krishna, in our endeavor to develop some taste for the wonderful process of bhakti that has been given to us, and that we can all take something with us into our days. So thank you very much, and I want to particularly seek the blessings of Adipurusha Prabhu, of Arjuna Prabhu, if he's in attendance, and of everyone. So this passage of Srimad Bhagavatam is a very beautiful pastime, something that we can really reflect on in so many different ways. So just to offer a brief summary, I know many of you are following along every day, but just to give a little context, what we're looking at here in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that Durvasa Muni was a very, we can say, strict Brahmin, and very much conscious of all of the rules and regulations. And he was invited for a meal, for a feast, by Maharaj Ambarish, the king, very, very pious, genuinely Krishna conscious, devoted king, and also very humble, though he was in the position of a king. Maharaj Ambarish was observing his Ekadashi fast. Very appropriate, because also we were just in our Dwadasi day today. But Maharaj Ambarish was realizing that the window of time was coming, that he really needed to break his Ekadashi fast. And he didn't want to breach the etiquette of eating before his guest. So he was actually conscious of this, and very sincerely and carefully and so considerately, he was consulting his ministers, consulting the Brahmanas, and saying, what should I do? And their conclusion was that he can drink some water, because this is sort of eating and not eating. So he's breaking his strict fast by drinking, but he's also not creating any offense by eating before his guests. So he went ahead and did that and just drank a little bit of water. And at that time, Durvasa Muni, in all of his rigidity and his intensity, became very offended. And his mood was, how dare you? How dare you take any prasadam? How dare you eat before your guests, especially an esteemed, strict Brahmana such as myself? So of course, there's a little bit of pride there on the part of Durvasa Muni. And what happened at that time is that Durvasa Muni pulled out his hair in anger, and by his mystic powers, that hair turned into a sort of monster, a demon, that began to pursue Maharaj Ambarish with a trident, like a pitchfork. So it's a very terrifying scene here. And one thing that's important to note is that Maharaj Ambarish was not afraid. He was not really affected by what was going on. And this is a very important example And in Srila Prabhupada's purport during that section, one thing that he mentions is that Maharaj Ambarish did not even ask the Lord for help. He didn't even pray at that time, Lord, please help me, which is, not something that we can artificially imitate. It's also part of our relationship with Krishna to pray for help at times. But because of being such an elevated devotee, Maharaj Ambarish had really just taken full shelter, and he's exemplifying this principle of sarma dharman parityaja, mamekam saranam braja aham tom sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Just simply surrender unto me. Abandon all varieties of religion. Surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So really, this is something that Maharaj Ambarish is exemplifying here. He knows that he's doing whatever he possibly can to surrender to Krishna. So in that sense, he's confident that he will be protected. And sure enough, what we find is that the Sudarshan Chakra, the divine weapon of the Lord, is dispatched and begins pursuing Durvasa Muni. So this big scene of this demon chasing Maharaj Ambarish is very quickly kind of overshadowed by the Sudarshan Chakra pursuing Durvasa Muni. So as we know, Krishna in his expansion as Lord Vishnu, he's brandishing the Sudarshan Chakra at all times. He has his Shankha, the conch shell, which is a blessing for the devotees. Chakra, his spiritual weapon. Gada, the club, also a weapon. And Padma, the lotus, blessing. So the Lord at all times is balanced in this way, holding blessings for those who are trying to come to him, and also weapons for protection, for annihilating more impious and monstrous elements in this world. And we can see in the Bhagavad Gita also, this is Krishna himself mentions this, Paritranaya sadunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samsta panartaya sambhavami yuge yuge, right? So to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So in many ways, the Sudarshan Chakra exemplifies this quality of Krishna, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. So this Sudarshan is pursuing Durvasa Muni. So in this sense, to annihilate someone who is contrary to the devotee of the Lord, he offended the devotee of the Lord, and to deliver the pious also. That Sudarshan also is not only a weapon, but Sudarshan allows us to have Sudarshan. So the meaning of Sudarshan is actually the auspicious vision, the true vision of the Lord. So Sudarshan, as Maharaj Ambarish is so beautifully offering these prayers to Sudarshan and sharing all of the qualities of Sudarshan, that Sudarshan is the five senses. Sudarshan is the basis of bhakti. Sudarshan is actually the giver of devotional service. And Sudarshan is always effulgent and always allowing us to see our path in spiritual life. So what we find is that Maharaj Ambarish is now being approached by Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is begging for forgiveness from Maharaj Ambarish. So this is also another very important point, that Durvasa Muni, in his desperation, he approaches Lord Brahma. He asks for help. Lord Brahma says, I can't help you. We're also terrified of the Sudarshan Chakra. And then he goes on to approach Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva says, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Perhaps you need to go to Vaikuntha, to the abode of Lord Vishnu, and approach him directly. So, of course, Durvasa Muni goes ahead and does this. And this is a very important distinction here. What happens is that when he approaches Lord Narayan does not absolve him, and to some degree cannot absolve him. He says, actually, you need to go to Maharaj Ambarish. So if we make some offense to the devotees of the Lord, we can't really ask Krishna for forgiveness. Best thing, if at all possible, is that we approach those devotees. We approach that devotee who we may have made some offense to, and really humbly ask for their forgiveness and to connect with them. And this is what Lord Narayan instructs Durvasa Muni to do if he wants relief, if he wants this Sudarshan Chakra to stop pursuing him. So this is a very important example of, if we make some offense to the Lord can forgive us if we sincerely seek forgiveness. But if we make an offense to a devotee, our only hope is to approach that devotee. And in the course of this section of Bhagavatam, the Lord also makes so many beautiful statements about how the devotees are always in his heart, and he's always in the heart of the devotees. And in so many ways, he is controlled by the love of his devotees. So this is very important, that as we're going through our spiritual life, that we're not only not offending the devotees, but that we're also developing love for the devotees. This is something that automatically takes care of our propensity to be offensive toward devotees. And of course, in spiritual life, there are so many different natures of devotees. It's just a wide, beautiful spectrum. Just like the spiritual world is full of variety, we find that in our association with the devotees, we see that they have so many different qualities. They're devotees of so many different stripes. And important to remember this, that this is all part of Krishna's enjoyment. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. He's Purusha. We are all Prakriti. We're all his energy to be enjoyed by him. And therefore, of course, so many different varieties of devotees. So there may be devotees in the community who we may not feel the deepest connection to in terms of our particular nature that's given to us in this lifetime, our different qualities, our guna, we can say, in this particular lifetime. But at the same time, we recognize the vast expanse, the diversity of the devotees, and how that is so much cherished and relished by the Lord. And we can respect all devotees, that they're seeking the ultimate goal of life. And while it may be advantageous for us, especially in the early stages of our spiritual journey, to associate with devotees who are like-minded, devotees who are svajati, of the same kind of mood, we also see that it's very important that we have devotees of all stripes. And this is something that Durvasa Muni is learning through this also, because Maharaj Ambarish externally is a Kshatriya, he's a king. And Durvasa Muni was judging in this sort of, very much based on Varna, that he's thinking, oh, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a very elevated Brahmin. And then Maharaj Ambarish, he's a Kshatriya, he's not as spiritually pure as I am. He's kind of seeing it in that way. But as Srila Prabhupada mentions here in his purport, that really our nature is really determined by our qualities. It's not about birth, it's not about our varna. And, similarly, we have to live up to that. So classic analogy that's given is that, would you feel comfortable having surgery performed on you by someone whose father is an esteemed surgeon? Of course, that wouldn't be surgeon, and I'm his son. So I will perform this surgery. That's not adequate. So much of what we see in terms of kind of casteism or people being proud of their birth, it's not relevant unless they possess those qualities. And Durvasa Muni is being given this understanding through this experience. And it is the mercy of the devotee, because Lord Vishnu says you have to go to Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish, when Durvasa Muni goes to touch his lotus feet, begging forgiveness, he becomes very embarrassed. This is also the humility of the pure devotee. He becomes very embarrassed, and he feels that all he can do to resolve the situation is to pray to Sudarshan to relieve Durvasa Muni. And we see that this is something that we can also look at in our own spiritual life, that when we take shelter of the devotees, and when we kind of are trying in our own sincere way to develop that kind of humility, then we don't feel that fear, right? So many spiritual traditions are kind of in this mood of God-fearing, being frightened of the Lord. And Bhakti encourages us to go further and to love Krishna, to have this loving connection. And that is accomplished when we develop love for the devotees. And it's also, we can say that the Sudarshan Chakra, this platform, again, this paradigm of to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, that's something that's happening within us each and every day on our spiritual path. We all have, actually, I don't want to speak for everyone, because there are many, many elevated, esteemed, pure devotees in this world. So I don't want to say we all, but myself, and in the early stages of spiritual life, we are contending with our more demoniac qualities. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, we hear about the divine and the demoniac natures. We exist as Tatashta Shakti. We're situated between the internal and external energies of the Lord. So therefore, we have that propensity to be attached to the external energy and to sometimes develop these very, we can say, non-spiritual qualities. But also we feel some attraction to Krishna, because ultimately that's our soul's real desire. So this is going on all the time within us, that we're praying for our more demoniac qualities to be annihilated or to be transmuted into something useful to the Lord. And also we're praying that our more good qualities, the things that Krishna has given us that are actually dear to him, that those qualities can be nourished and can grow. And just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he will preserve what we have and carry what we lack. So we're always looking at that, and we're always hoping that this can happen. And of course, this is something that's always going on, that the Sudarshan Chakra is terrifying to the demoniac side of us. The Sudarshan Chakra is so pleasing and so beautiful and so assuring to the part of us that is trying to come to connect with Krishna. And I just wanted to read a nice prayer. This is a prayer that's coming from the Skanda Purana. There are some prayers to Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and of course Jagannath has Sudarshan. He carries Sudarshan. And so this is the section, the Sudarshan Pranam. O Sudarshan, your burning effulgence is as brilliant as millions of suns. Please dispel our darkness of ignorance and thus reveal the path to the eternal world of Vaikuntha. I offer my obeisances unto the brightly shining Sudarshan Chakra, which never fails to offer all protection to the Vaishnavas. I humbly bow down before Lord Vishnu's weapon of irresistible strength. So the Sudarshan is here to dispel the darkness in this world, the darkness within us, and to reveal all that is good, all that is pious, all that is dear to Krishna within us. And it's just like we hear this analogy about the kitten and the mouse. So when the cat comes to the kitten with open mouth, with teeth showing, the kitten understands, oh, my beloved parent is going to pick me up, is going to lift me up with their teeth, with their mouth. And when the mouse or the rat sees the mouth of a cat, it sees death personified. It sees that I have no hope in this world and that I'm about to be hurt or killed. So this is our process also of seeing the Lord, sometimes we feel fear when we look to the Lord. And in some sense, yes, that's a pious thing to do. It's a development of awe and reverence, but it's also a preliminary stage that in due course of time, we're trying to see that the Lord is our only shelter, that we take shelter of the Lord, and despite our sinful nature, despite our need for development and growth in spiritual life, that the Lord is going to lift us up. And this is something that Maharaj Ambarish is exemplifying here. And so also, in his purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about how the Sudarshan Chakra does not discriminate between Brahmana demons and Shudra demons, right? So in other words, if someone is averse to the devotees or averse to the Lord, doesn't matter what their material position is, doesn't matter what their material standing is. And it's very, very interesting how in religious systems, there's space for this, that we can adopt all of the externals. We can adopt all of the externals of the faith, or that we can engage in all of the practices, but we may still have a very, very inimical attitude. So ultimately what's being emphasized here is that the Lord sees our true intention. And this can be terrifying if our intention is insincere or negative. We know that the Lord sees all of our falsity in our practice, but at the same time, we can take heart that the Lord is seeing our sincere intentions when they're there, despite our failings, despite the very, very slow progress or gradual progress that we may be making. The Lord sees the heart of what we're trying to offer. And so in that way, that's being illuminated and that's being nourished. So it doesn't matter what our external position is. It doesn't matter if we have some prominent position in the spiritual community or not. It has so much to do with what we're carrying in our heart. And also in Bhakti, we have this process of anartha nivritti, of all of the unwanted things, all of the undesirable things in the heart, things that are not conducive to devotional service or to bhakti, that gradually those are being rectified and those are being dealt with as a mercy of the Lord and a mercy of Guru, mercy of the devotees, but also as part of our own internal process, our internal contemplation and prayer. So Maharaj Ambarish, in his humility, he says, I can simply utter the word namaha, offering all obeisances unto you. So he's also, in this sense, demonstrating to all of us that we approach the Lord in this mood of surrender. So when we approach the devotees, we're also approaching the devotees with a prayer that we may find the love that they have, that we may someday find even just a little drop of the devotion that they have. And we see that devotees leave us with such powerful examples. And we recently had the loss of Sriman Pankajangri Prabhu in Mayapur. And one thing we're seeing is that so many devotees are reflecting on his beautiful qualities, his steadfast devotion, his commitment to Srila Prabhupada's mission, his commitment to his service as given by Srila Prabhupada. And there's this unique experience when devotees are leaving this world or when their health is compromised, that we're petitioned to pray for them. And of course we can do that. Of course, we can, in our own minuscule way, we can pray for devotees. But Madhavananda Prabhu, who many of you know in Jagannath Puri, he was sharing so nicely that this time of praying for great devotees, it's an opportunity also to really just take shelter of them and to pray that we may imbibe just a little drop of the devotion that they have. We know that ultimately our prayers for them are secondary in terms of the Lord taking full charge of the life of such a surrendered devotee. But at the same time, we offer whatever we can in the way of prayer, just out of the fortune of being connected to such a personality and knowing about such a personality. So what we find in this pastime is how dear to the Lord the devotees are, how sincere the devotees are in wanting the best for us, even in our fallen state. Durvasa Muni approached Maharaj Ambarish after committing such an offense. And Maharaj Ambarish, all he wanted to do was to pray for Durvasa Muni. So not that we take advantage of expecting the mercy of the devotees necessarily, that, I can do whatever I want and the devotees will forgive me and the devotees will wish me well. It's not like that. But at the same time, we see that just the nature of a devotee's heart is that they always want the best for all of us. They always want to see others come closer to Krishna. And similarly, Krishna always wants to see us connect with the devotees, because the devotees are his heart and soul. The devotees are his everything, as he expresses so beautifully in these previous verses. And that there's one wonderful devotee, Bhushar Prabhu. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, originally from Trinidad. He lives in our area here, in the New York City area. And he's very inclined to he'll come and he'll share a realization. He's always meditating on different points. And it's very sweet. He'll just walk up and he'll just start to share some of the things on his mind, on his heart. And we've benefited so much from hearing from him. And one of his main meditations that he shares is about loving the devotees. So if you can imagine, he'll walk up and he'll say, you have to love the devotees. How can you love Krishna if you don't love the devotees? Krishna wants us to develop love for the devotees because that's what keeps us on the path. You need relationships with devotees. You need hugs and connections with devotees. because these are the things that actually keep us engaged, keep us aspiring, because we see their qualities, we see how real their spiritual life is. And that's another important thing. Devotees, they show us what it looks like when knowledge turns into realization. They show us what it looks like when faith, initial faith, shraddha, turns into love. And they also show us what it looks like to offer your own qualities, offer your own nature to Krishna. That's why we have such a beautiful, broad spectrum of devotees. As we were saying earlier, just that variety is there. And so sometimes we become discouraged because we feel that our own qualities don't mirror those of great devotees who we know. And something that's encouraging to remember is that Krishna is concerned with our essence. So even if we have a very different personality, even if we have very different material interests and inclinations, even if we have very different abilities, or we feel that we have fewer abilities than some devotees who we come to know, we can really strive and aspire to imbibe their essence, the mood with which they are proceeding in their spiritual path. And there's even so much accommodation for different moods. We see great devotees with so many different moods. So all of us, we have our own part to play, and we know from scriptures that Krishna so much is desiring our involvement, is so much desiring our connection to him. And we can say, yes, it doesn't make a difference. Krishna has so many devotees serving him, and so many, but he wants all of us. He wants all of our natures, all of our individuality, which we never lose, even beyond this world. So that's something, that's very, very heartening, to know that we're all part of a kaleidoscopic, landscape of love for Krishna. And that we all have our service, we all have our role to play, and that we can see so many devotees who are being their own people in Krishna consciousness. It's so wonderful to see. And then that is heartening for us, that whatever qualities we have, as Krishna says, he'll preserve what we have. Not that we have to discard the good gifts that Krishna has given us. We find ways to offer them. And then on the other side, whatever we lack, whatever difficulties we have, Krishna is going to carry that. Krishna is going to carry us through, and also send very merciful souls, like in this verse, Maharaj Ambarish, to pray for us, to give us example, and also to intercede for us on behalf of Krishna. Because as the Lord shows in this pastime, that when we go to the devotees really, they have that connection to Krishna, and they can pray for us. So it's something that we don't always think about. Sometimes we think so much about approaching Krishna directly, but of course this is not really the mood. This is not really the mood, especially in our Vaishnav tradition, that we have the senior devotees, we have Guru, and we approach Krishna in that way. And even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's Krishna in the mood of a devotee. So in his pastimes, there's so many relishable examples of his associates, the way that they approach him. And also to see Haridas Thakur, Srila Haridas Thakur, who's our Namacharya. He's the ultimate chanter of the holy name, and he's a close associate of Lord Chaitanya. He was not able to go into the Jagannath temple because of regulations at that time, because of the nature of his background and birth. He was not able to go into the temple. So Lord Chaitanya advised him to simply chant. Lord Chaitanya would bring him prasadam from the Jagannath temple. And also Haridas Thakur was very satisfied to meditate on the Nila Chakra, on the Sudarshan Chakra that is visible at the tip of the temple, on the top of the temple. So there's some parallel here also, that the Sudarshan Chakra is merciful, so merciful, and allows us to see the Lord. So Haridas Thakur perfectly had darshan, Lord Jagannath, through Sudarshan. And that Lord Chaitanya, in this way, was also fostering that connection. So we just see that the devotees are so kind and so merciful in fostering our connection, and that the Lord himself offers us that Sudarshan to annihilate the qualities within us. That's a prayer also, that the qualities within us that are averse to devotional service, that they can be rectified, or that they can be somehow transformed into something valuable and useful. And also that the qualities that we do have that are favorable, that they can be nourished and expand as we follow in the footsteps of the great devotees. So I'll stop here, and any discussion, questions, thoughts, I'd love to hear. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Gail.
Hare Krishna, Gail. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a couple things that I wanted, if you could please address. One is, when you were mentioning that Ambarish Maharaj had complete faith or confidence in Krishna's protection because he knew that he was serving sincerely. So I'm always wondering how to distinguish between such confidence and a mood of presumption on our part about, how Krishna will deal with us. It's like, I don't know how to, kind of differentiate the mood of presumption over the mood versus the mood of, Ambarish Maharaj's confidence.
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes we question if we're being too confident in the presence of Krishna's mercy in our life, or also if what's the fine line between confidence and being kind of puffed up, being overconfident, and also what's the fine line between, on the other side, humility and sort of being self-deprecating in our spiritual life. So something that my spiritual master did share with me about this that was very, very powerful for me to hear is that we should always be confident in spiritual life because we know how much mercy we've received. And this is also a sign of how much mercy we will continue to receive. That we're conscious of the amazing mercy that we've received from the devotees, from Srila Prabhupada, from Krishna, from our community, and from the books, from the practices, the prasadam, the chanting, all of these beautiful mercies that we've received. So that should give us confidence that we have the best mercy in the world. We can't imagine more divine, generous, magnanimous mercy. But at the same time, we should remain very humble because we know that without that mercy, we have absolutely nothing. We're not able to make any spiritual progress without that mercy. So in that sense, that kind of tempers, I hope, Gail, this addresses, it kind of tempers that overconfidence that we feel like when it comes to the point where we feel that somehow we're just deserving of that mercy in some big way, by that we deserve it by our own quality, or that somehow it's some guaranteed to us. That is
that's actually what it sounded like when you were talking about Bharish Maharaj's confidence. It sounded like, because I don't know if it was the way you put it or what, but it sounded like you were saying that he felt because he had been so sincere, that is what kind of attracted Krishna's mercy. It's like he was saying that, it was because of how he served. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So what I think that is, Gail, is I think that, we can say that looking at him, looking at his example, we can say that it's because of, who he is as a great devotee, but that's not his mentality. His mentality is just having such a deep faith. He's not thinking that it's because of anything of his greatness. He's thinking that, but because of his greatness, because of his devotion, he doesn't think in any other way. He doesn't think of, oh, how am I going to get out of this? Or how am I going to, find some way out of this circumstance? Or, cursing Durvasa Muni or something like that. Because of who he is as a devotee, he just feels that confidence and that faith and that safety deep within, that the Lord is with him.
I guess it's more because he's confident more not in his own self, but he's confident about the nature of Krishna, that Krishna is, because Krishna is so magnanimous, that's his confidence is more in that, maybe not in his own activities.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's exemplified by. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Gail. Go ahead.
Yeah, as you were saying, the reason why he has confidence in Krishna's merciful nature is because he has already seen evidence of that in his own life, as you were saying, I think, before, right? That we are supposed to look at our own life and see how merciful Krishna has been to understand that, okay, I can be confident because I see that Krishna, judging by my own life, how merciful a nature he has.
Yes.
Is that the idea? Yeah.
I think so. And I also just want to give Adipurusha Prabhu, he had a comment. He had a comment about this.
Well, Gail asked a question, but she answered it perfectly. Very good.
I'm going to zoom into my own class.
Yeah. We're, as soon as we hear your voice, everybody perks up. Here it comes. Get some nectar here. The Bhagavatam is giving us examples of how other people act. In the Buddhist tradition, they have a thing called Instilling Goodness, and they give children scenarios of how to act. They have little mantras. Mother, father calls, answer not slowly. Mother, father calls, answer not slowly. And then the teacher says, okay, Ling Ling, you stand up and you make believe you're the mother. And then you call Mei Mei. Mei Mei. And then Mei Mei stands up with folded hands and says, yes, mother. So they show them how to act in a situation, right? Even if your mother tells you something that's wrong, how to respond to that in humility. But mother, it's Saturday. We don't have to get up early. There's no school today. They show them how to act in a situation. So Bhagavatam is like that it shows us, if somebody rips the hair out of their head and creates a demon to kill you, don't hold it against them, forgive them, Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda, they went to Jaga and Maya, rapists, murderers, thieves, drunkards, and they said, please chant the holy name. And it was so fun and so crazy. They even attacked and threw a pot at the devotees, created a wound on the head. But this, no. Lord Nityananda said to Lord Chaitanya, we don't want to kill them. We want to kill the demoniac mentality. And so in our experience with Srila Prabhupada, we saw, you're talking about decades and decades and hundreds and thousands of devotees, and so many instances where people were drifting back to their conditioned nature and doing something inappropriate and offensive. And what did Prabhupada do? Did Mumbrish say to Maharaj, did Umbrish say to Devasmuni, you just tried to kill me. You just tried to, are you kidding me? You want forgiveness? Forget it. You just acted so bad, so angry, and so, threatening. And no, I'm not going to forgive it. So Prabhupada people would come back after doing something, and he would accept them, even though they had done something very offensive. And if he had to send somebody away, he didn't just throw them out. He would send them to New Vrindavan. So we had a really interesting collection of devotees there. And, it would happen at the city temples. They would say, well, this guy, on the front lines here where Golden Books distribution, we have all these people coming in there. No. Go to New Vrindavan. So he would send them somewhere. Okay, go to that place. Even, I want to tell his name, is one temple president from Washington, D.C., and he did something, and Prabhupada said, so you go to New Vrindavan, and you take shelter of Kirtanananda. So it was there's a place for you. It's a house for the whole world to live in. So somebody may not be of a certain standard to be in a certain position, and therefore Prabhupada would relocate them. Not just throw them in the garbage or go out there with his gnashing of teeth and whatever they say in the Bible, but you go there. Okay. Even Maharaj Pariksit was chastising the Kali personified, and he told him where he could go. He didn't say you can't go anywhere. You can't say you're going to hell and you're never coming back. Forget it. Even the law, our court system, people are sentenced to 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 40 years in prison, and then they've served their time, and there's access for them to rejoin society and be reinstalled as a member. So it's interesting to see, because we're seeing situations and we're seeing how devotees acted, and we see how Prabhupada acted, and we're called upon to forgive those who have offended and to figure out, like they say in the United States now, a path to citizenship, right? They give them a path to citizenship. Okay, between now and you're barred for a year, and then you can come only during the kirtan or something. It's not just forget it, you're out, forget about it. No, we're like, okay, this is inappropriate in no uncertain terms. Person apologizes, and there's an access again. I'm talking too long. I'm sorry, Gail. Thank you for your comments, which are always wonderful. Glories to Prabhupada.
Are we out of time, or I don't know if you want to take somebody else's thing?
We're outside of time. We're outside of time and space. In the spiritual world, time as we know it is conspicuous by its absence.
This is my kind of world.
Go again. We love to hear from you.
But I don't know if somebody else has a question. I don't want to hog. Dina?
Hare Krishna. Anyone who has questions, but of course, as Adi Purusha Prabhu said, we'd love to hear from you, Gail. But Athena, did you have a question?
I did, but Gail, please feel free to go. I can.
No, it's your turn. Go ahead. It's your turn. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I only have so. Thank you so much, Dina Bandhu Prabhu, for such a wonderful class, and Adi Prabhu for all your wonderful additions. I was just thinking, we do constantly hear this, Krishna preserves what we have and carries what we lack. But I was just trying to process and synthesize that a bit more, and really trying to understand, I don't want to say practical application, but really how it shows up in our lives. And I could be wrong, but an example is maybe, are we really pronouncing Sanskrit properly, say like chanting the holy name or even all the prayers, or if you're doing some sort of yajna, but if your sincerity is there and you're trying your best, Krishna will accept that, I guess that's the preserving, and then he'll just carry the rest. Or I'm not a pujari, but I can imagine, say, when you're on the altar and you're supposed to be fully absorbed, but the mind is so busy, but you're trying really hard. Or even I, from my understanding in Kali Yuga, you can't really properly do deity worship as it's prescribed in the prior ages. So in that sense, you do your best, but then Krishna carries the rest of perhaps what we're lacking. But I was just curious, when you hear that, what other examples really come up? Like how do we see it in our lives? Like how is it actually applicable in our lives?
Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much, Athena. Yes, such nice examples. And these are definitely important examples. And you mentioned deity worship and, and yagyas, or, worship of that nature. And there is something that's actually very relevant to what you said. There's a prayer that is customarily said after doing such worship. Mantrahinam, kriyahinam, bhaktihinam, janardana. So it's like whatever I've done with devotion, whatever little mantras or the fruit offering or the water offering or the flowers or whatever I was able to actually offer with devotion, please accept that. And whatever I did improperly, if I chanted the mantra incorrectly, or if I had the wrong consciousness, or if I did the procedure incorrectly, kindly make that complete. Make it complete. So it's such a great example that you gave of how Krishna really preserves what we have. Not only preserves, but also we pray lovingly accepts what we've offered with devotion, and whatever is offered without devotion, or whatever we did improperly, that is made complete and carried through. You asked about other examples of this. I would just say, what comes to mind for me is just the way in which the Lord looks at our intention. What a relief. What a relief. In this world, intention is not worth very much on the material platform. People tend to really look at the results. They may say, "Oh, fine, you had a good intention, but that didn't get the job done." Or you tried to construct a house for me and my family, but it fell apart. So in this world, intention is not worth very much, but at the same time, to the Lord, intention is worth so much, and that he preserves what we have in the sense of accepting our spiritual intention when it's there, nourishing that, making it complete, providing so much opportunity for us to grow in that way, and carrying what we lack in terms of whatever we're missing, whatever we're missing in our desire to approach him and serve him. He sends the right people, he sends the right ideas, he sends the right connections, helps us day by day to kind of move forward. And it's all based on him preserving what we have, which is our initial desire deep within our heart to connect with him and to revive our relationship with him. So that's what came to mind for me, but I would love to hear any comments. Thank you for that wonderful question.
Shasha says, man sees the external, but God sees the heart.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Can I come? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, this is a quick comment, Gail. So you will be able
No.
But
Angelika, thank you for your nice comment in the chat also.
no problem. I just wanted to mention what Adi Purush said, reminded me of this pastime of Srila Prabhupada. I don't know who he was speaking to. I really don't recall the name, but someone was just misbehaving and not following the principles, and essentially, not doing what they were supposed to do or what they vowed to do. And then he got very angry and he said, like, I will leave you if you don't follow these things. Like, you took vows, you promised, and you are not kind of doing your part of the deal. And the devotees got really scared because they were like, what do you mean, Srila Prabhupada? Like, are you actually going to leave him? And then he said, no, I will never leave my disciple. but just to wake him up, I have to be harsh at times. And I'm just wondering, and I mean, not wondering, just reflecting how amazing it is that our gurus always know how perfectly engage us and bring us back, and whether they do it in person through different means, through devotees who are sobering us up through association, through their association example, still they always have a way to be that reminder and to kind of squeeze that drops of sincerity that we may be having. So that's what came up to me. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a wonderful point, that the guru never leaves the disciple, and always also is nourishing whatever drops of devotion and sincerity. There's so many things that could be looked at in terms of what we don't have, and where we're still looking to grow, where we still need so much work. But at the same time, Vaisheshika Prabhu, he likes to use this term, fan the spark. He likes to mention that a lot. And it's very important that, great devotees, they always want to fan the spark within everyone, even if that spark is surrounded by so much else that is contrary to spiritual life. There's that spark. And then, the potency of that is so much greater than anything else. The purity of that far supersedes the impurity of whatever else may be there. So that spark is being fanned by the great devotee into a fire.
In Prabhupada's example and in scripture, there are recommendations, like a recipe, like a pattern of what to do if you have to chastise someone. That's Samadana Beta Danda, right? So the first thing is you try to explain to them with appeal to their intelligence. If that doesn't work, what's next? Dana. You give an incentive. All right, you do this and we'll give you that. So you're expanding to a child, all right, you can do this and then you can get this incentive. Samadana Beta. You know that one? It means separation. Parent withdraws from the child, or the guru, in this case, he in one sense threatened to withdraw. So Samadana Beta, and then the last one is Danda, means you hit them with a stick, but that's not recommended in this age. But we put with a procedure, the scripture and the guru are showing us how to apply Krishna consciousness in real life situations. In devotional service to Krishna. How wonderful is Krishna that he gives us as guru and the Shastra. We got to squeeze in a how wonderful is Krishna here and there, anywhere, somewhere. We'll go to Prabhupada.
Thank you so much, Adi Prabhu. I was missing it. I always feel encouraged when you give a how wonderful is Krishna. Thank you. And I also just want to offer my respects to your associates there who are, doing such great service. Thank you, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much. Haribol.
I know it's so late, but can I squeeze in this last one? I think it's a simple thing.
Of course. I have no objection as long as it's okay with course, Sharan Prabhu, Adi Purusha Prabhu.
Of course. We're eagerly waiting for Gail's question.
Oh, so sweet. It concerns the fact that Haridas Thakur would see Krishna when he would focus on the Sudarshan chakra at the top of the temple. And I think you were equating that with seeing Krishna himself. I mean, we do hear that, Krishna is non-different from his paraphernalia, So I was just wondering if you could just elaborate on what Haridas Thakur was actually seeing when he would focus on that Sudarshan chakra. Was he seeing like Krishna face to face when he saw it, or what was that? Can you elaborate?
Well, I don't feel totally qualified to speak on that. I don't know what his particular vision was, but what I do know is that he was fully satisfied. He was fully satisfied by seeing the Sudarshan Chakra, the Nila Chakra on the top of the Jagannath Puri temple, and that he felt very deeply that this is just as good as having darshan of Lord Jagannath in the temple. So, so in that way, and also Srila Haridas Thakur, he's having darshan in so many ways. He's having darshan through the holy name. He's spending so much time with the holy name. We can't even imagine 300,000 names in a day. So, and also another, it's very beautiful. Haridas Thakur shows us so many ways that we can seek that darshan, even when there are limitations in terms of our ability to be in the temple. And this is very relevant to us right now, also in this time period, when for many of us, we're not able to go to the temple in the way that we normally did, and everything like that. So Haridas Thakur had his darshan through the Sudarshan Chakra. He had his Jagannath Prasad that was delivered to him daily from the hand of Lord Chaitanya. So, I mean, who can imagine that? But it's just, but also similarly, through Krishna's Prasadam, it's also a form of darshan. When someone brings, Vasudeva Prabhu is kind enough, and I see him sometimes, he'll bring me Maha sweets from Shri Shri Radha Muralidhar, Gaurachandra. It's like, yeah, we can feel that. We can feel like it's like taking darshan. It's, we're connected with that particular form of Radha and Krishna and their mercy. And, Srila Prabhupada was very much like that, that he would honor prasadam silently quite often, by himself. And it's a way of really experiencing the mercy. So I was just thinking about how, there are many ways in which the Lord offers his darshan to us, so many merciful ways, and also through the devotees. And so that's why I was also just equating in that way, that Haridas Thakur was perfectly satisfied by that darshan. And so sometimes we may feel deprived in some way, that I don't get to be here, or I don't get to go to this temple, or although, I mean, how fortunate are we that we have so many beautiful resources in spiritual life to fully take shelter of. But also, if we ever feel deprived in some way, like we're lacking, we just can remember that. It's a nice example of just seeing that wealth and having that mood of abundance, right? It doesn't get any better than this. That Haridas Thakur had that spirit. It doesn't get any better than this. And sometimes when you're with devotees who have that mood of abundance, we also just feel so uplifted by that, and we feel so fortunate. And Jayananda Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's Jayananda Prabhu, he really had this spirit that, he was so appreciative of everything. When you read his pastimes, that, he would taste halava and he would just be like thrilled, overjoyed. Wow, halava, it would never get old. So, it's very nice to have that spirit of abundance, and that Haridas Thakur, in all of his humility, being such an incredibly elevated devotee, that he was satisfied with darshan as it was given, as it was offered to him.
It's nice that you broadened our horizons about how to experience darshan. It can be in ways other than just going before the altar in the temple, that there's all these other ways. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Gail. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you for answering all the questions, being with us, even though it is slightly delayed. Thank you. Extremely grateful for such a nice lecture, especially speaking on Sudarshan. And I really love the point on Haridas Thakur. Thank you very much for bringing in the Haridas Thakur and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, His Grace Dina Bandhu ki jai.
Sharan Prabhu ki jai, and thank you all so much. And just also before we go quickly, just wanted to also, I know Gorsharan Prabhu will be embarrassed, but if we can all just offer prayers also. He's in India right now. We know the situation in India. Thankfully, he's telling me that things have mostly been okay, but he's also there with his family and spending some close time with them in under some difficult circumstances. And we just want to also just offer these prayers for him. So if everyone can please do so. I want to take advantage of the presence of the devotees. Okay. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.